It's the beginning of the show and it makes people super mad. That's the beginning of the show, everybody. What's up? It's Monday. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing out there in the old land of the internet? Internet, how you doing? How you doing, Internet? What's going on? What's happening out there? What are you doing? What are you thinking about? What you got going? What's the big deal? Is it Monday? Is this live? Oh, man, this is live. Oh, boy, howdy, everybody. Titled it Monday today because, it's totally Monday. How you doing? Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays. Oh, yeah. Just having a Monday out here, you guys. Hopefully everybody out there is having a fantastic start to their week. Nothing bad to report or anything like that. Everything's going pretty well. Checking in on my fish and stuff and doing the regular old Monday stuff and getting Monday things handled. You know, returning all the comments and doing all that kind of stuff and just moving along. But right here at the beginning of the show, I have a question for the masses. You know, a question for the masses, people that watch this channel and stuff. It's a question, but it's not really like, it doesn't mean I'm going to actually do anything differently. I feel like asking a question and then not changing my behavior. I don't even know why I would even bother to ask that question, but I have a question for the masses. If you guys would let me know, if you're somebody who watches live, you're obviously going to put into the live chat, but if you're somebody who watches later on, you know, if you're somebody who's just lurking around or whatnot, throw a comment down below and just let me know something you have a question about. You know what I mean? Like, you know, whatever plant you're interested in. Like, what are you, I don't know. What are you interested in? Like, just put a comment down there of, like, what you're interested in. Because I want to know, you know? Because I feel like I've been putting a lot of effort into, like, building a community, but I don't know if it's working, you know? I feel like, you know, there's a tight-knit group of us here and stuff, and I'm happy to keep going with the tight-knit group that we have. I don't have Patreon open, but I could open up Patreon real quick. Hold on a second here. I had to restart the computer for the 100th time, and all my windows aren't open anymore. But 286 people over on Patreon, 75 members over here on YouTube, which is cool. It's fantastic. So I feel like I'm currently catering to a crowd of about 300 people. What is that? 350. It's about 350 or 360. What is that? How do we do that math? How do we do the maths? I don't know. Hold on. So 286 plus 75. So we add the 5 to the 6 gives us 291. So 261, right? Is that right? Oh, I think so. 361. So I feel like I'm catering to that group. You know, it's a very small net group, and I'm happy to just continue to cater to that group. But, you know, if you're somebody that's, like, new to the channel or you've been around a long time and you don't normally comment or whatever, let me know what you're interested in that I do. You know what I mean? I guess that would be kind of a thing. Something that I do. John Gonzalez is asking about shouted any puffer in a 20 long. Is that too small? I would think that that's too small. I mean, you could probably have one in a 20-gallon long. But I think personally that probably, it feels too small. I think like a 40 breeder would probably be a good size for them. I do have one in the 150 and one in the 240 now, and that feels almost too big for just one though. So, yeah, I feel like a 20 long is just kind of too small. I don't know. but it might be okay. I would personally throw up that question onto Patreon so we could get Preston to answer that one. That might be pretty good. Mike Kenseth wants to know about Snow White Anubias. How do I get it to grow white leaves? Yeah, you're asking about Anubias, right? Not Anubis? Because Anubis is the Egyptian, right? Anubis is the Egyptian god, right? Easily confused with the spelling. It's probably the autocorrect on your phone would be my guess. But as far as the Egyptian god goes, get him to grow white leaves. You have to bury that one in you have to bury it in a tomb for like, I don't know, 2,000 years or something like that, and then it does well. But Snow White Anubias, the little plantlet that could, you just want to get more direct light on it. That's really the trick. It'll green out. It'll turn green in really low light situations. So you definitely need you need a little bit higher light on that Anubias. So that's one of the reasons that it makes it a little bit more difficult, is because you'll generally start getting to algae zone up in that higher light. So it does get a little bit crazy. So let's see here. Alyssa is wondering, do they make decent solar-powered air pumps yet? Something that can manage Western Washington clouds and pump air continuously. Yeah, actually, I do have a solution for that, but you're going to have to figure out the solar panel yourself. But if you were to get... And I don't actually have one of the air pumps right here. I'll find a link for the air pump. I have to go over to the only place I know where to get it. Aquarium Coupe. And I don't even know if they have it in stock right now, because I know Corey did some crazy sale yesterday, and it looked to me like there was a lot, and I mean a lot of orders going through. So I don't know if they have them in stock. But let me grab the link here, because what the thing we're looking for is air pump, right? Let me see. There it is. Oh, they're sold out. But you can get an email. I know that Corey ordered more. I just don't know when they'll come in. But here's the link for that. Copy, and then we go back to the chat here that's been closed. Paste. Okay, so that's a little USB air pump, and a simple solution for people, which you could do, is get a battery like this. So this one right here is just, I forget what this one is. So 6,700 milliamp hours. It's a portable charger. I think it has 2 USBs. Let me see. I don't know. Let me open it here. I got this one as an add-on with something a while ago, but it's just basically like a little. Whoops. No. Oh no. So this one actually only has one out on it. The other one's power in. This one only has one, but I have some of these for like traveling to power up, USB powered stuff. So you could hypothetically get a solar panel to charge this, because you can get those solar panels now on Amazon. That let me see if I can find one on Amazon for you. That, because we got one a while back for backpacking panel. Let me see if there's the one that we got. Yeah, here it is. There's actually a Rav Power one that's like the same brand. And to full disclosure, oh, whoops. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, there it is. Let's see. Took just a second. What are you doing? There. Copy. Okay. And here's a link to the real basic solar panel that will run and charge this battery. So that's a workaround that I think most people, most of us could handle, because that's literally like just plugging stuff in, getting a long enough cord, and getting all that stuff together like would be pretty simple. You'd just be kind of spending some money, but I honestly think that those USB powered air pumps will probably save people. I don't know if it'll necessarily save on your electric cost or anything like that, but it could definitely, simplify your fish room and stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you just have a couple of tanks and you just need a couple little bubblers and stuff like that. I'm currently testing one of those on the Zis filters because, and I don't know if you guys have seen the Zis filters, and I know for a fact that these are not sold out at the Aquarium Co-op because, as a favor the other day, I unloaded the truck. Just, hey, you might as well get a little bit of a workout if you can, right? Did that work? I think this is the right one. Copy. And I can paste this one in here. Paste. Kaboom. So that Zis filter, I'm seeing if they work to power the Zis filter properly. So far, so good, but I want to make sure that I've tested it longer and make sure that it works well enough that I could actually recommend it to people and be like, yeah, this is something that you could set up and just set it and kind of forget it. You know what I mean? Tom Patterson says, I don't comment. I've been listening since December or subscribed a few months ago. Trying plants again, keeping fish 20 plus years, absorbing information. Oh, I like that, Tom. Thanks, man. Yeah, I think, I was kind of just shouting out at the beginning of the show, just wondering, hey, if you all have something that you want to hear about, like, take the opportunity to do it, because, and this is just me being honest, but like as things get busier and busier and busier and busier, if there was something specific that somebody wanted, like now is the time to get it in so that I could at least write it into the kind of schedule and stuff like that. And one of the downsides about the live chat is that to me it's almost disappearing. It's almost a disappearing act because people post stuff up into the live chat and it sort of just goes away. It still exists so that you can watch it later and stuff, but it's not something that I could like read through very effectively, and respond to very well. Like, especially if I even miss stuff like when I'm actually here and the chat's going by, and especially when it gets going fast. Hold on a second, I got my foot's stuck. But let's see. Lissa says, cool, yeah, the issue is I don't have a plug on the deck. Thank you. Yeah, I always think that's weird whenever you see like an apartment and there's no outlet like out on the deck. I almost think like, who built this building and thought that was a good idea? But I've run into that a few times, like doing some maintenance work and especially like painting at apartment complexes, because I've done that as my small construction company I had. I used to paint apartment complexes all the time, and it'd be like outside and be like I'd have to run like 400 feet of extension cords and stuff because it was like the only place that I could access power, because like everything was locked up and there was no outlets outside except for like one utility outlet like a million miles over there. And there's no real reason to run a generator out on those sites. It's like there's power here, I just have to get it. Okay, yeah, so maybe that's something that would help for people that have like a pond set up, maybe even just like a temporary thing, because I don't think it's like a permanent solution to do that with like a battery like this and the little solar panel and whatnot. I think I have a feeling that it would get corroded and have problems with being outside for a really long time. Let's see. So maybe that's something for like ponds. That actually would probably be pretty useful for a couple of summer months, and then you could just take it down, clean it up, and like put it away for the winter and set it back up for the next year when it comes around. I don't know. Could be. Rosto Rio says, hey, new tank setup. Spiderwood has that white substance on it. Not worried, except that it's covering some Anubias Nana Petite I glued on. Cause for concern and physically remove or just let it go. Sometimes I will knock it off of brand new driftwood, like with just maybe a paintbrush or even a toothbrush or something like that. Just something, something easy. Just don't go all crazy. But typically with the white fungus, and I'm putting air quotes in the air for people that aren't watching on video. It's generally a really mild type of fungus. You really don't need to worry about it. It's not unhealthy for your system, but I'll typically just leave it there for a while, like maybe even a week or 2 weeks, and then I'll just knock it off when I do a water change. If you have like a python or a hose that you're doing your water change from, you can just go around and like suck it up into your bucket or your trash can or however you're doing your water changes. And it's definitely the way, like, I just don't think it's that fantastic. You know what I mean? So I just get rid of it that way. But I also don't stress out about it because I'm not really going to be doing too much like photography or filming or anything in that time with an aquarium. So it's not unhealthy. So I don't freak out that much. Yeah, and then I'm just kind of good to go, realistically. Let me see here. So what was our next question? Alex Herrera is asking, I've heard about the heterotropic bacteria in anoxic filtration systems. Yes, I've heard about it. I wouldn't say that I'm really an expert in any of that specific. I'd have to look into it a little bit more before I really like do any kind of commentary on it at this point, because my filtration systems are kind of just based on well, hold on a second. So let me think here for a second. So basically my systems are built to promote bacteria that will exist with live creatures. So the basic easy way to explain is that there are a lot of ways to filter water. There are many, many, many ways to filter water, whether it be groundwater, wastewater, or any of that kind of stuff. There are many ways to filter water. A lot of them aren't safe for critters to be in while it's happening. So the reason that cycling an aquarium is important is that you're producing the bacteria that will, break down ammonia, which is really toxic, break down nitrite, which is really toxic, into nitrate, which is much less toxic to most of the things that we have in our aquariums, because we're trying to keep everything alive in our aquarium while filtering. So there's really aggressive, crazy ways that we can go about filtering our water, but it would probably kill most things in it. So to give you like a real specific breakdown on that, I think I would like to make a produced video so that I make sure I don't like trip over myself while I'm trying to read comments and operate everything. But that's just kind of a basic breakdown. I think just, a quick breakdown of like, that's why we cycle our aquariums. That's why we try to promote that bacterial growth to break down the really toxic stuff that's quickly toxic. And get that so that we don't kill off the critters that are in our aquarium. So that's why I pretty typically, I advise people on, utilize the basic bio rings, because you can get more of them for the same amount of money. You don't have to spend a ton of money on your, the biological portion of your filtration. You can utilize air mixing in, oxygenated water really will promote the bacterial growth that we can actually promote with the living things in our aquarium. So, you know, that's why, because there's other ways that we could promote filtration of water, but it just doesn't work with things actually living in there. Let's see. Al Janeco says, I'm losing a battle with one of my planted 20 longs. It's been cycled for about 6 months. Now, all of a sudden, my ammonia spiked. Nitrates are high. 50% water change every 3 days. Very frustrating. I wonder if something died in your aquarium, because that almost always shows up when there's like a dead fish somewhere. That would be my first thing. My first thing, Al, would be, is there a dead fish and it's like hidden behind something? You know, I had a tank one time that I was struggling with, and it turned out like one of my clown plecos had died, but it was underneath and like hidden back behind something. And then, you know, I finally just got so frustrated, I started pulling stuff out of there, and it was like, oh, fish, like the leftovers of a fish, you know what I mean? It was nasty. But that's normally what we would see, and we'd normally see that also in a reef aquarium. It's like something died, and then it's just like, you know, system fine. Even like a, you know, like a turbo snail, or like a big hermit crab or something like that would die, and it's just enough to like, whoa, like kind of put that thing out of whack for a little bit. So I would check to see if there isn't something kicking around in there that could be contributing to that, and then you keep up with your water changes and stuff, and just keep kind of looking around. Ross Del Rio says, thanks, man. I love the show and what you give back to the hobby. Oh, man, I appreciate you guys coming out. You know what I mean? Thank you for coming out and supporting the show and stuff, man. Like, you guys know I'm really trying. I got my baby. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm really trying to do my best to put out the good content for you guys and stuff. So Tom Patterson has a good point. Root tabs will spike ammonia. I would also double check your fertilizers and stuff like that, and just make sure that you haven't accidentally added something. Maybe you switched foods, stuff like that. Just any kind of crazy organics can definitely spike ammonia, that's for sure. Lexi V says, how often do you give snails calcium? I have 2, and I've been giving a quarter of Tums tab once a week. Well, it depends on the snails. Depends on how many snails you got and kind of what you're feeding them. Some of the actual snail food that I use has calcium in it, and it is it's very important for shrimp, shrimp and snails, but snails definitely need calcium. So if you're seeing any kind of holes or spots in their shells, they're calcium deficient. That's the easy way to go, is that if they don't have if they don't have a nice, healthy, clean shell that doesn't have any holes or weird spots or anything or any of that kind of nonsense going on, they're probably getting enough calcium. So I wouldn't stress out too much if their shells are growing well. If their shells start to show problems or any kind of deterioration or anything like that, then it's time to do it. One of the upsides in a reef aquarium is that you really don't have to worry about like dosing calcium. You just have to do your water changes. There's lots of calcium in saltwater tanks, so maybe a hot tip. Maybe a hot tip for somebody out there that probably has no interest in reef tanks. Old Fish Guy says, has anyone made a sump filtration system from a heavy-duty plastic storage container? Yes, I have personally done that myself. It can be done. Just verify that whatever heavy-duty plastic you're using can actually handle having that much water in it for a long time. It's kind of interesting that some of the plastics we use actually break down these days, and you could either have, you could have it adding something to the water column and or it fall apart and break. That's more common that I've seen them just snap like at the seams or something like that. It can be done. I personally stay away from it at this point because, getting a nice professional sump is actually pretty easy to do. Or if I was going to DIY a sump, which you guys know that I think that doing things yourself, like building things on your own, is a great learning opportunity, but do not go into, doing something yourself if you think it's going to save you a lot of money. I want to remind that to people on a regular basis, and people always get mad at me about it because they're like, oh no, I love doing stuff myself, and it's like, you got a broken 2-liter in here with some silicone all over it, and it looks like garbage, and it hardly works, and da-da-da-da, you know what I mean? Like, I've been down that road. I've tried to make stuff and just completely failed. And I talked to one of my mentors a long time ago, and he kind of put it to me in a really good way, is that he's like, how much do you get paid an hour to make the thing that you make? The things that you do. And I told him, and then he was like, cool, how much money is the thing cost? So let's just ballpark some numbers here. Let's say a thing costs $100 and you make $20 an hour, right? So with taxes and stuff like that, it's going to take you 6 hours of work to get to the $100 mark at $20 an hour, right? So 6 hours of work would buy the $100 thing, right? Which comes with all of the design, the execution, and the materials and all that stuff. So let's say this $100 thing is what you need, and it's going to take you 6 hours at $20 an hour to earn enough money to buy the thing. If you sit down and start to research the thing and it takes you 6 hours to just research the thing, you're already going backwards because you're going to have to buy materials, right? And then once you buy materials, so let's say you buy the materials for it and it costs $60 for the materials. Okay. So now you're going to save $40, but it's going to take you 30 hours to pull this thing off or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing with the amount of time. But let's say it takes your whole Saturday to make a thing. Like I said, I'm all in favor of people, if you want to do a build-it-your-own project, whatever you want to call it, if you want to learn some of the ins and outs and the process of that kind of stuff, go into it for that. But don't go into it with just the purely saving money. So and I can tell you guys from personal experience, I've used all sorts of crazy things to make all sorts of crazy stuff. And, the reality is, like, I could pay the acrylic manufacturer, I think probably about $200, and I'll get a professional sump with all the baffles right where I want it, everything done, and a warranty on the thing. It just doesn't really. So that's the thing I'm trying to tell people is, like, if you're going into it to save money, don't. If you're going into it to learn something, yes, definitely do that. But, like, I was thinking about it earlier because I was messing with one of those Zis filters. So I had one putting some of them into my sumps, which actually is working out fantastically. So far, so good, working out well. All my expectations have been met with that thing. But then I realized, like, the darn thing costs, hold on, I don't want to say the wrong price, but it costs $29.99. So it costs $30, right? It costs $30 to just buy it and have it dropped off at my door. And then I'm like, okay, but because I was like, you know what, I have K1 media, so I have the media that goes in it. I have some airline and stuff, and I could make a container that would do this. Then I started to break it down in my head. I was like, it's probably going to take me an hour and a half to make it, which means I'm going to have to go find my acrylic stuff. I'm going to have to find the acrylic tube that's going to fit. I'm going to have to make the 2 rounded cutout parts. I'm going to have to make some kind of thing that I can open it up with. You know what I mean? It's like, this is going to start to take a while when you get down to it, and it's probably not going to work as well. And I was like, screw it. Like, I'll just buy another one. You know what I mean? Like, so it's working pretty well so far. I'm pretty happy. David Gilkinson's wondering, any plans for a video about all your sumps in the near future? Yes, that's kind of part of what I'm talking about right now. I added some Zis filters to my sumps, and I've been making some subtle changes in there. You know, and I'll be doing the detail on that. I know that I was supposed to be doing a follow-up on the front part of my sump, but I've been kind of finagling and making some changes and stuff, and I've been doing some DIY stuff that I think has value against buying something that's bought. So there are some things that I would say, hey, here's a thing that you can make, and it's like the filtration pad that I use. You know, like I use the big roll. It realistically takes me maybe 2 minutes or something like that to like take the roll out, figure out what size I need cut this one, cut that one, boom, boom. I've got cut filters there. So like that's an opportunity where it's like, yeah, you just do a little bit of the legwork and it'll definitely save a lot of money over time and whatnot. So I think that there are ways to save money, that's for sure. But I think if you're just going in for DIY, like you're just building stuff from scratch, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Ed's Fish says the airline in my Zis keeps popping out of the black part. Oh, like right at the point of contact right there. What I would do is I would take that rubber airline off and just cut like 1 inch off of it and then put it back on, because that kind of like silicone tube portion that comes with it hanging off the end, that will like kind of stretch and get a little bit loose over time. And that's just that product. That's just that silicone tubing will just do that. So I would just take it off, trim it, and then put it back on. I wouldn't silicone it because, just because I wouldn't. I don't know how to verbalize it, but it just almost feels like it'd just be kind of a little bit of a mess, you know. Does the swap seem to always be busy, or is there a time where it dies down? Oh, David and Alana are trying to figure out who's going to the meetup or whatnot. New Mexico Aquatics says, Joel, I have a 29-gallon setup with Eco Complete. I would like to break it down, then add either Fluval Stratum or Seachem Fluorite to it. Do you have any thoughts on doing this? Which would I prefer? Personally, if I had to choose one, I would just choose plain stratum. You know what I mean? So I would just use plain stratum if I had to choose one. But I do like a little bit of the fluorite black in with the Seachem, or sorry, with the Fluval Stratum, because I think the Eco Complete has a little bit of alum in it, if I'm recalling correctly off the top of my head, that does help with the initial plant growth and stuff like that. So that part is helpful, and I do like to have a little bit of mix to my substrate. Even though they are both black, it does kind of like give an opportunity to move some textures around and not just have like one black slate, you know. So I think personally, if I was getting a 29 like that, because you're probably going to need like 1 bag of fluorite and 1 bag of stratum, which isn't, you know, and you might have some left over or whatnot, but you could always save that for a little like desktop aquarium down the road. Because let's be honest here, because I know that you guys are like me, and you will be like, oh, maybe I will get that little nano tank I saw at the old fish store the other day. Somebody put it on clearance, and I think maybe I'm going to grab that. It's definitely nice to have a little bit of extra substrate around. I mean, I've been buying up as much substrate as I can every month, you know, just because I need to have it for a thing that I'm doing. That's a sneaky Pete. Kathy says, how many gallons can the Zis handle? Now, I'm not sure what it's like rated, but I feel like it's rated like you could probably have a Zis and a 55 if it wasn't just like super overloaded. The smallest tank I have is 120 gallon. So, you know, and I'm adding, you know, I'm adding those into the sumps, which is just an added portion of the filtration. And obviously I'm going to do the highlighted video on that so that it will explain exactly what's going on. And let you guys know like what up with all that. Alvin Alejo with a $5 super chat. As you guys know, super chats sometimes get bumped to the front. Hey, man, that's how I see it. Like, you all want to chip some money in the tip jar. Like, that's kind of just how the world works, man. And before I answer Alvin's question here real quick, I want to put an addendum on what I just said. I've been hearing from a lot of YouTubers lately that try to somehow sound like what they're doing is all altruistic, right? Like, I recently heard a pretty big YouTuber was doing a video, and they were trying to encourage people to hit the join button and do this and do that. And they're like, well, it's not about the money, but and I was like, of course it's about the money. Like, everyone's time costs money. You know what I mean? Like, every minute that goes by, I'm closer to an electric bill and a mortgage bill and an insurance bill and more bills and the internet bill and the hard drive broke and the whatever, and the UPS guy lost my package and I got to order new batteries for a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, there's a big portion that's like, yeah, everybody's got to pay bills and stuff. So it's like, yeah, that's why people want people to be members and stuff like that, because you help support the person that's doing the project that you want them to do, like, and that's kind of how that works, like that's how it works. Like, if there's a restaurant I really like, I go there and I buy their product, and then I'm like, oh, the waitress that works here is real cool too. Like, here's an extra $5. Like, because I'm like, oh yeah, hey, everybody being cool. So, like, I don't know. I just think it's super weird to hear YouTubers like, oh, it's not about the money. It's like, well, why does everything like have commercials, and why do you keep making videos that are like, some of the videos out there that, like, where it's like people are like, Petco sucks, or I found a lobster in my freshwater tank, like, or I saw one a while ago that was like, somebody was saying that they found a lobster in their ditch, like the ditch outside of their house where the freshwater thoroughfare was going and stuff. So I don't know, that kind of stuff like kind of just cracks me up. But somebody was asking in the chat, and that's kind of what triggered my thought process, was that It's Nature Man was asking about, where did it go? I don't want to misquote anybody, sorry. Was asking about how the makerspace is going, and the makerspace is just there's nothing happening with it right now. I'm basically looking around at places, and I mean, like, at the point where we're at budget wise right now, I could like rent some creep's garage or a space that is going to be crazy difficult to keep fish tanks at. And that's kind of the issue. Like, I was able to find a place that's like, yeah, a little bit small, which is fine. Like, I don't mind like starting out small. Like, that's not a big deal. But there was like no insulation in the building. There's no water in the space. It's just kind of like a drafty old thing. So, that's kind of an issue that, so there just isn't a whole lot happening with this, because it's just, we're at that shoestring budget right now, and I haven't been able to find out anything cool. But I have been booking more jobs, so I don't know. Maybe we'll get to a point where I'll be able to pull it off. I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at right now. Is that, like, when I have to go out on the road and go work and stuff, that means that like nothing gets done for YouTube, because I'm gone from here so I normally leave at 6:30. And I normally get back at 9:30, so that's 15-hour days, and basically get home, eat some food, unload my truck, get the baby back in here, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the deal, because it's time to go to bed by then, because I get up at 5, and then so I'm out the door by 6:30 with the baby. We drive up, So it's that kind of deal, and shall see how it goes. We shall see how it goes as time goes on. But, I don't know. Now I just trail off and answer a question, right? Is that how that goes? And rant, I guess. Dr. Wiggle Spank says, I'm new to the hobby and setting up my first tank, a 20-gallon tall. Ooh, going elevated. Currently, it's cycling with Dr. Tim's bacteria and ammonia. Should I add plants or fish first or both at the same time? 100% add plants first and buy a water testing kit and start to figure out when your tank is cycled. That's when you can add fish. Do not add fish before that. Once your tank is cycled, you can start adding fish. Alvin Alejo's chat, I almost forgot. He says, thinking about boiling eggshells and putting them in the tank for snails should work, right? Yes, 100%. The only downside is it is incredibly difficult to keep it high and tight, if you know what I'm saying. It's difficult to keep it under wraps and having it make very much sense. The eggshells have a tendency to get all over the place. They dissolve pretty quickly. They disappear, you know what I mean? So when they disappear and stuff like that, then you're like, oh, I got to get more. And sometimes they can have certain things on them that can be a problem, but eggshells will work. I personally find a little bit of snail food that has some calcium in it and works out quite well. And if you find that your water is really, really lacking in calcium and stuff like that, you can add a small bag of crushed coral into the filter or just hang it in the tank and stuff like that, and that will really have a tendency to drop a lot of stuff in, especially if you're if you're injecting CO2, it will help to break down that crushed coral and get it into the water column, and that will be not a big problem. Mithrandir, nice. Mithrandir, I like that. It's a good name. Have you ever had any experience dealing with filamentous diatoms? What causes them? How to stop them? Thanks in advance. Most all diatoms are a reaction for too much silicate in your water. Too much silicate can easily be combated by just allowing your tank to mature or finding out where the silicate came from, doing a little bit of water change. But most everything related to diatoms will go away with the age in a tank. So if you just keep going, let it cycle, the diatoms will just get outcompeted by more advanced, basically like more advanced, what's the word I'm looking for here? Multi-celled organisms. There we go. So once they get to that point, the diatoms just can't even compete, and shouldn't be a problem. But it's normally an excess of silicates. Thanks for the help, guys. I'll order some plants once the tank is cycled. I'd like some white cloud mountain minnows and maybe some shrimp or snails. White cloud mountain minnows are a perfect fish to start with. 100%. White cloud mountain minnows, I would 100% recommend to anybody if you're starting out, and anybody if you're just awesome and like a cool little fish, because they're dope. And if you don't like the plain ones that are kind of silver, you can get the super sweet albino ones, which are like this crazy yellow color, yellowish orangish color. I don't know. It's like off orange. Scott Schatz said, also, you'll be sad if you're using anything less than a 20 tall. For what? Oh, up to 40 gallons by itself, but it's new to the industry. I would pair it with something else first. Scott says you definitely have to pair it. Oh, you're still asking about the Zis bubble, or that was you guys talking about the Zis filter. You can use the Zis filter by itself if you want. It is being utilized by itself in some of the co-op tanks, so it has a tendency to work pretty well, but I personally wouldn't do it solely like that. But as you guys know, I always run sump systems so that I am able to really expand my my filtration system if I like, and it not become like this crazy eyesore with all this water going this way and crazy nonsense and it making a lot of noise and doing all those things. So we got a $5 super chat from the Fish Tank Barn for the tip jar. Happy day after Easter. That's right. That's right. Easter was yesterday. Easter went quite well. And I'm about to talk about Game of Thrones, but don't worry, I won't spoil it. There's no spoilers in what I'm about to talk about, so don't worry. I mean, unless the length of the shows is a spoiler, which I don't think it is. Now, we had what was I was talking about? So Easter, we had a great Easter. We went to family, we did all that kind of stuff, had a big breakfast and that. Came back here, did a ton of yard work that we had to get done. I did the mowing and all that, and the weed whacking and blah blah blah. I still forgot to do some all the way out on the back end of the property, and now it's raining real hard today, so I'll have to wait till later. But Then we were back here. I barbecued some burgers for my lady. Actually, I posted a video, a short video on YouTube with the little stories feature. I think I'm going to be doing some more of those stories as time goes on, because there's some stuff that I just want to, you know what I mean? Like there's just like short stuff I want to just throw in on a daily basis. So I'm going to try to use that, or maybe I'll do the Instagram version. I don't know. I don't even know how it really works, because I'm old and I'm an idiot. So you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know how it works, or if you guys even like it or not. I don't know. But David Gilkinson has pretty much about what I'm about to say. And so we come back here, and you guys know that my birthday was last week. And I had a conversation earlier in the week with my mom and Vicky, and Vicky was like, had apparently talked to my mom about like, what did I want for my birthday? And I had told Vicky, I was like, look, I just want to be here with my family. I just want to hang out with you guys, and I want to sit down and I want to watch Game of Thrones uninterrupted. Like, I just want to watch a show that I've been watching for way too long, and it's a really good show. I very much enjoy it. And it's the final season. I just want to watch the episodes and be able to get immersed in them. And that's what I wanted to do. So my mom was asking me about the Game of Thrones because she's never watched it. She thinks it's too violent for her, which, mad respect to my mom. Like, she has seen her fair share of actual violence. So I get it when I talk to her about that stuff. I'm like, the story's really good, but yes, I'm sure the violence would stress my mom out way too much. So, but previous to this season, right, the producers and the showrunners and the people that put that show on, they had been questioned as to why, instead of the 7th season just being the final season, that the 8th season was going to be the final season. And they said, we have way too much content. We just have way too much content here. It's going to take way too long. So we're going to split the last season into 2 parts, part 7 and part 8, season 7, season 8. But don't worry, because season 8, the end part is going to be super epic. It's going to be 6 episodes long that are going to be all like 2 hours long. They're going to be like a movie. Like, each of the final episodes is going to be like a movie. And that has not been the case at all. Both of the first 2 episodes have only been an hour long. They have not been like a movie. They have not been like a movie. They have not been a standalone. They've been weird little cliffhanger things with nothing happening in them at all. And I have to say, I'm pretty frustrated with how this has been going. And as far as I know, like some other people in the world caught on to that, and then they released a thing saying like, oh, we're making an amendment to the schedule because we added more stuff in. So they added 20 minutes to like the 3rd episode, which I'm like, that still only took the episode from like 60 minutes to like 80 minutes or something. It's not like, oh, it was 3 hours long and now it's 3 hours and 20 minutes long. But the thing that upsets me about it is that this really has the vibe like that they basically just had all this stuff shot and then they just waited 2 years to put it out. Like, that's the feeling that I get. Because I'm kind of pissed that we had to wait 2 years for these episodes where they just like, it's just a bunch of people talking to each other for 2 hours. And I was like, so far I'm frustrated. Hopefully it picks up. I don't know, but I just keep feeling like, man, I'm setting out this time that I can watch Game of Thrones, and it just has not even come through. Kathy B says she's a Blacklist person, even though I can't stand Elizabeth. I got into Blacklist when it came out. My roommate really liked it, Sean. And I think we watched the first couple seasons, and then it started to just take these crazy turns and stuff. And I was like, I don't even know what's going on here at this point, which I feel like is the natural progression of a TV show. Like they just start to do like all this crazy stuff so that they can be like, oh, keep watching, you know. But yeah, I get it. You know, like when I put a video out and people don't really watch it, I'm like, oh. I feel like, should I do some of this nonsense where I like throw a lobster out in the street and be like, I found a lobster out here, guys, or blow something up or whatever? I don't know. Am I supposed to have things exploding and whatnot? And I'm like, I don't know. I made like a 30-minute episode over the weekend, like video that I thought, and I feel like it was engaging to the small part of the community, like the core. You know what I mean? I feel like the core was totally into it, and then it just like YouTube's like, no, don't show this to anybody else, you know? So I don't know, because I feel like I'm just going to keep making the content I want to make, and then I hope you guys like it. But, you know, like I said earlier in the episode here, this show today, I was like, I feel like I'm playing to the core, my core audience, and I think I'm just going to keep doing that, because I feel like at this point, like, I don't care. Like, people like Mellow Moogle become a member. And realistically, I want you guys to know something. Like, if you become a member, it's like $5 a month. If you become a Patreon, you can become a Patreon at like $1 a month. That's more support than you could ever generate as a viewer. And I mean that of like any channel anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, you could go watch, like every one of Philip DeFranco's shows, right? In like a month period, and it still wouldn't even equate to that amount of support. So, when I say that I appreciate it, I really do appreciate it, because that's the honest thing. Like, you know, that's just like the honest thing. Like, I just make the stuff that I want to make. I try to help people. I try to do all the shows and do all that kind of stuff. People are wondering who I think will win the throne. Now, here's my theory. My theory is, it's just going to be Jon and it's going to be Jon Snow and whatever her name is, the queen. What's the queen? Oh no. The dragon princess. I can't remember her name right now. Khaleesi. There we go. I think it's just going to be Jon and Khaleesi, and then I think they're going to put some kind of goofy like American thing on it that like the Seven Kingdoms shall become a democracy with weird elected officials that do the actual electing. What? I think it's just going to be nonsense. Everything's going to burn, and those two are going to be left. You know, because they're just going to be like one of those things where you're like, they can't escape. They can't escape like trying to leave people with a happy feeling. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're going to start making other Game of Thrones shows. Like they're going to make a prequel, I heard. And as we know from Star Wars, if you do a show that is essentially the end, like you get up to the end, we know from... Oh, there we go. Ed's Fish said Daenerys. There you go. I feel like if we learned from Star Wars that like if you do a bunch of movies or episodes of or whatever, and then you try to go back and do a prequel, like people are not going to be engaged with that, because it's just like that's just bad news, like, because we already know what happens, like, regardless of the outcome, like, or regardless of how good the show is, you know the end. You know what I mean? It's like Titanic could have been the greatest movie of all time, sure, whatever, right? Like, okay, it was all right. but you know that the boat sinks at the end. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you've already got the spoiler notes. You know what I mean? Like, it's like somebody already spoiled it for you. I don't know. And then you're like, oh, man. But I'm really excited for Avengers Endgame. That looks like that's going to be wild. And we don't have tickets. We tried to buy tickets. We desperately tried to buy tickets for this weekend, and we could not get them. So we're not going to be able to see that until the following weekend, I think. So it's going to be a little bit crazy. David Gilkinson thinks that Tyrion won't make it. Yeah, I don't know. I think, like, I don't know. A whole bunch of people are going to die. Famous Jones says his theory is that everyone dies and the children of the forest come out of hiding to reclaim their territory. All right, that could be a deal. That actually could be good. Lexi V says, but the Mad King sounds like a fun happening kind of guy. Yeah, but you know that he gets murdered by Jaime Lannister, right? And who wants to see more of that guy? I mean, really, come on. We certainly do not want to see the early years of that whole situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to see more of the incest and nonsense that was going on there. We don't want to see that. Rexina13 says, anyone watch The Walking Dead? I really like The Walking Dead. I really like The Walking Dead, and I really wanted to keep watching it. Because as you guys know, like, Vicky and I's our schedule for the day is, like, I get up at 5. You know, I reply to all my emails, blah, blah, blah. I do my whole day. Vicky gets home on a day that I'm not out in the field. So, like, today. So Vicky gets home in the afternoon, and I make dinner. We eat dinner. We wrap up stuff. I come in here to finish all my office work and stuff. And then we have an hour before we go to bed that we'll, like, watch a TV show like Criminal Minds or Walking Dead or Game of Thrones or whatever. We watch that before we go to bed. We'll watch like an hour of TV, and then we go to bed. So it's kind of funny because I'm like, people are like, man, it seems like you've seen everything. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you just kind of follow the system, like, you end up seeing, like, you know, 5 to 7 episodes of something a week, you know? So it's like, it's pretty easy to get through shows like Sabrina and stuff like that when it's like, oh, there's only 10, you know, there's like 10 episodes and you watch like one a day. It really doesn't take that long to get through the whole season. So, but yeah, I was watching Walking Dead, but I could not stay with that show because they kept I'll put it this way. I couldn't stay with that show because the people in the show did not get smarter as time went on. Like, wherever they went around, like, they went to that Terminus place and there was a bunch of cannibal crazy people. Like, from that point, I think, don't you think everyone in the group would be like, we need to not be detected by other living humans? You know what I mean? Like, I think before that, they ran into some rapscallions and crazy situations and stuff, and you're like, okay, maybe you didn't see that coming, but I feel like once you went to Terminus and they were trying, and the living people were trying to eat the other living people, there's no way you wouldn't have a lookout. There's no way you would be walking around through the woods just, like, talking super loud and not paying attention to what was going on. Like, I mean, I get that there would be certain points where they'd be, like, doing that kind of stuff, but and also not to mention that there's military people involved with it. Like, this is not how the military functions when they're on mission. Like, they don't just go out there like, hey, man, you see what Steve did last week? Oh, it's crazy. And like, oh, somebody snuck up on us and they're going to eat our whole family. So that's the thing, is that, like, they keep having to throw in this, like, surprise factor of, like, the people just keep getting tricked or whatever. But they just keep, like, getting stupider. I don't understand. Maybe that's part of the virus. Like, you just keep getting dumber and dumber. I don't know. Maybe that's, like, the antibodies that they have from the virus, like, makes them just get dumb. and ambivalent. Ooh, I'm looking at the clock, guys. We got to get rolling. And it looks like to me like a bunch of people left. A bunch of people left because I started talking about TV shows. They're like, I'll listen to somebody talk about TV shows somewhere else. I got to go. Which is understandable. I get it. I'm just some idiot. And you guys probably want to hear about fish stuff, right? But let's see. We don't have any more fish stuff. I got to the super chats. Mellow Moogle became a brand new member today. Thank you very much. I don't know if Mellow Moogle wants me to say her name on the live stream or not. But Mellow Moogle, thank you. She's one of our moderators, and she's a brand new member too. I very much appreciate it. I was mentioning it earlier. You know, the makerspace, all that kind of stuff. It's what I'm working on. That's what I want to do. I'm just trying to book more jobs and stuff so that I can actually afford to do it. You know, as I mentioned in a show a while ago, I did put the goal on the Patreon of where we got to be at so that I could just do it and just hit the go button. But, you know, we just haven't hit that. So it's fine. Like I said, I'm going to keep working on it and try to stay within the budget. And, you know, that's exciting. And, yeah, but there's other cool, exciting stuff coming down the line. So I wouldn't be super stressed if you're like, that's the only reason you wanted to hang around and see if that ever gets made. I really, really, really want to do it. Just trying to figure out how to do it in budget. That's just kind of the deal, you know. Okay, so I am running out of time because I have to get food on for Victoria today because she needs to go to an appointment, so I need to get that done. But I love you guys, and I want to say thanks to everybody for coming out. I hope your Monday was all right, and I hope your Monday's getting better. We hit that hour mark today, so it's not the shortest show ever, but it's an hour long. Everybody have fun out there. Get better. If you can't get better, get better than better, gooder. Yeah, get all super good out.